it's Joy, and today we're watching Young Royals Season 2, Episode 4. Thank you so much to my anonymous patron for sponsoring this show. I love these characters, I'm stressed for these characters. Let's go. I'm not so confident on that, sweetheart. What were you thinking, my poor messed up love?
She's a gold digger, men helt ärligt, hon verkar typ bara hooka med blå på det.
Yeah, it's always worse on the girl. Whatever happens, the fallout is always worse on the girl. Plus, like, I guess they're saying she's a gold digger because she's looking for nobility. Because she's new money, technically, I suppose, because her family aren't, like, aristocrats. They're just extraordinarily wealthy, but yeah. See, this level of happiness he's feeling right now shows you that he didn't once care about any of the pain he had actually caused. Because yes, obviously, Wilhelm has been not great to him this last term, understandably so, but if he actually cared a little, even a bit, he'd be feeling relieved. Like, if the axe isn't going to fall on his head, he's going to be okay, because that was always his primary concern. But to be honest, even with like a good person, you will be concerned about yourself. You can't shut that off. So you can have relief over the realizing that the Queen's not going to send you to prison or out you or cut you off or do any of those things. Yes. But you still destroyed two people's lives, and I just absolutely it just really frustrates me because, like, he doesn't care in the slightest now that he hurt people. Rich kids always come out on top. Don't send him anything, sweetie.
Every girl makes out with her best friend while drunk.
Jag har inte gjort det.
Nej, men då är det fan på tiden. Det är för att polis får hångla med folk från...
I've never done this. I like that her friends can tease her about it. It shows you that she's not feeling it too badly, because she could laugh at them teasing her like that. Don't do it, sweetheart. You know nothing about girls, sir. I knew August was going to start the... I mean, I know that the rumours are going around regardless of August, but I knew August was going to start the fight back. Such a toxic culture. In general, like, if they were doing this to any boy who'd had someone in their room, like, I hate that kind of, oh, you got to count all the notches on your belt, and like, obviously it's particularly awful here because of the mixed up situation of everything else going on. You know that for sure August would have been like, hey, I think we should do this. You know, did you hear the rumor about Wilhelm? Huh? God, it's tradition. Like, there's a lot of extra ick to this particular situation. But even if they were doing this to blonde kid in the corner there, I'd still not like it. I'd still think it was icky. Like, you're all kids, you're all gonna do stuff. Okay, sweetheart, you don't have any right to walk out upset. Simon, sweet boy. Like, unless you're upset that they're doing this to Wilhelm, the whole toxic lad culture. But for one thing, technically Wilhelm's denying it. For another thing, it's not like if Wilhelm was going, yeah, I had a girl in my room, way, then walk out in disgust because, like, disgusting laddish behaviour that should be left in the past. But when he's clearly uncomfortable and not happy with this, I just want, is Simon walking out because he's upset that Wilhelm kissed somebody else? Upset that he kissed a girl, I guess, and therefore it's still in the closet? Like, yes, I can understand that he's not going to be having warm, cozy, comfy feelings, but who is it helping by walking out in the middle of it all? Like, you're helping no one, including yourself. This is the kind of culture that needs to be shut out of their school. I can't believe the teachers hear that kind of nonsense going on and are okay with it. Why are you upset, sweetheart? Because he's with someone else? You're with someone else, my love. And yeah, you did try and break that off. And he did not let you, but I feel so bad because, like, and I still stand by what I said in the previous episode. Simon tried to say, I'm not ready to be in a serious relationship right now. I thought we were just going to be, like, hanging out, having some fun. You clearly want more than that. I don't. Let's cut ties here. Let's just take a step back. Let's take a breather. with Marcus. And Marcus went, I hear you, but also you're my boyfriend now and we're going to be dated. It was very strange. But obviously then him being upset about something that happened with Wilhelm and immediately calling Marcus isn't a great look. I say that with zero malice attached. He's a teenage boy going through heartache. I'm not holding any malice towards him, but it's definitely going to be giving Marcus the wrong idea that he does want to be with him. Though again, I say that with the asterisk of he literally just the other night said he didn't want it to be like this. So it's all a huge mess. Are you asking him because you want to go with him, or are you asking him because you're upset that Wilhelm was kissing a girl in his room? So you only want this relationship on your terms. I see. Like, I kind of get I wouldn't feel comfy going as anybody's date to a party at, I can't pronounce their name of the school, Hillerska. Like, I would feel very uncomfortable going there with all those rich people, the posh idiots. I suppose for him, there's the added thing of he's like an employee at the school. I mean, not technically at the school, but on the grounds. It would feel weird. I wouldn't want to go to there. But I also don't think I would be like, in this kind of situation, you'd need to say, well, do you really want to go? Like, why do you want to go? Like, let's talk about it and maybe come to some kind of compromise. And if it means something to Simon to have you there, maybe you have to push your boundaries a little bit and have the thing of like, well, okay, but if I'm really uncomfortable, can we leave? You know. But I feel like with Marcus, it was, no, I don't want to do that. We're doing my thing. And again, am I just being really like protective of Simon? Because I do also think he's not being great in this relationship. He's not emotionally invested in it. I think in another world, he could like Marcus a lot. In this world, he is still getting over somebody else. And he's not over him, as evidenced by the fact that the thought of him kissing somebody else, particularly a girl, made him leave lunch. Like, it's not great. He deserves simple, childish fun. No, darling, don't do it. I'm obviously completely not like a prude being like, you shouldn't take nudes. But as a teenager, sending nudes to anybody is a huge risk. At the beginning of a relationship, sending nudes is a huge risk. Sending nudes to someone that has already uploaded child pornography to the internet to get back at somebody is the biggest stupid thing you could ever do in your life. Oh, Sarah, I'm so worried about you. Like, Sarah is either going to become a character I don't like or going to become a character that is in a terrible world of hurt and pain. And it's both are stressful. Sarah, I mean, this isn't too bad. She's got, like, obviously, like, this would be not great if it was leaked, but at the same time, it's also, and like, if he showed it around to all the lads, but it's also not anything more than if she was in a swimming costume. Like, it's okay. I just worry about her. And, like, why on earth you'd send nudes? Okay, someone is lashing out a wee bit much here. For someone who's with another person, you don't get to be angrily dodgeballing or whatever they're doing at someone else, mate. Like, especially as I think if when they'd been like, does someone have anything to suggest? Say, and it was very clear what they were talking about, even though I wasn't. Like, if Wilhelm had stood up and gone, got with police, boom, boom, I'm a lad, I could understand being that upset with him because it's a disgusting archaic culture. You know that he's not even bisexual, he's gay, so like he's not interested in her in that way, and like kind of all those kind of things. Like, I mean, I don't know if we know that 100%, but I presume that's what Simon thinks, at least. Simon. I like to pronounce people's names the way they actually pronounce them, and then I feel like I also sound like a dick calling him Simon, but I don't want to call him Simon. The whole thing in my head. But you can't keep taking it out on him. Like, I'm sorry, I'm very protective over Wilhelm. He's going through enough, okay? You are seeing somebody else too. Should he be angrily dodgeballing at you because you have a boyfriend? Let him figure out his stuff. I would actually understand him being upset far more if he'd been found kissing Henry in his room, because then you'd be like, oh, he's got a boyfriend. He's willing to be gay with someone else, but not with me. That would be more upsetting in my opinion. But like, it's a mess. I know that they're just teenagers feeling their feelings, but you literally invited someone else to the ball tomorrow night. Did he get a heads up about Marcus? Mm-hmm.
Han står i alla fall för att han gillar mig.
It's a valid thing to say.
Han vill att jag ska träffa alla. Jag kan acceptera min position, men fan jag är min familj. Nej, jag kanske inte kan det.
That's always been the biggest hurdle between them in a lot of ways. That they aren't even just two boys one of them who hadn't realized he was gay or hadn't openly come out as gay, and that being a thing, worrying his family won't accept him. It's the whole nonsense of the crown behind it all. And if they are ever going to be together, and I do want them to be together, someone needs to actually think about the realities of this, what it would mean. He would go from being anonymous teenager living in near Stockholm, I presume, I don't remember, Björnstad or whatever their town's called, to boyfriend of Crown Prince of Sweden, all over the tabloids, all over the world. Like, it would change on a purely personal level his life. He experienced the taste of that with the sex tape, but it would, it would become a huge thing. And then if they were to be together forever, it would be a huge, huge thing. Whatever the consequences were down the line, whether Wilhelm abdicates or doesn't abdicate. I mean, I'm really not making the point because I don't remember her name, but I do know the name of the woman that my brain fog is the reason I don't remember, that Edward the Seventh, sixth, eighth, Edward the Eighth, right, abdicated for to marry because she was a divorcee from America, and so he abdicated so he could marry her, and then the Queen's father became king. Like, she is famous. I know nothing about her other than the fact that she is the person he wanted to marry and it made him abdicate. So at the very least, even if Wilhelm doesn't become king, people will always say it's because of his gay boyfriend, whether that's a thing or not, whether it's because he personally doesn't want to be king. People couldn't care less about that. They want the story. Your life will forever be shaped by this relationship in terms of public perception. You yourself will know who you are, and there's so much more to it than that. And I think he does need to think about, it's not just he likes a boy and the boy likes him. It should be. It's ridiculous that it isn't, but it isn't. And then also he needs to think about what things are actually like for Wilhelm. Why is he acting the way he is acting? Is he free to act how he wants? And remember how old you both are. Maybe if you'd met at 25, Wilhelm would feel more confident in saying fuck you to the palace. But right now he's a scared kid. And you need to, if you care about him, you need to think about what he's going through too. Wilhelm has been guilty of not doing that in reciprocatory with Simon as well at times, but right now I feel like that's the biggest hurdle we have to face, is for Simon to actually think about the huge picture of the boy he likes. It's not just the boy he likes, it's the world the boy he likes lives in, and you can't have one without the other, as much as I wish for both of their sakes that you could. And even if they announce tomorrow Wilhelm is stepping out of the line of succession, he's not going to do it anymore. August, fuck that, is the crown prince. Even if that's an announcement that was made in the paper this afternoon, people would still be bothering Wilhelm. That's the nature of the world we live in. He would have to literally go and live in the middle of nowhere, and he'd have minimal paparazzi coverage. Any kind of public presence, they would still report on them. They would still, because the media sucks. So it's the reality of the world Wilhelm was brought into, and it's something that shouldn't exist. But I just wish Simon would, for his own sake as well, think about this. And I understand why he doesn't, because he's 16 at the oldest and going through a lot of stuff himself, that it's not always easy, especially when you're younger, to put yourself in other people's shoes, especially when those shoes are extraordinarily privileged. And what's he worrying about? He's got everything. He can go to whatever school he wants to, whatever college he wants to. His life is going to be so easy, and it is in so many regards. But in this regard of the emotions and what matters, it's really not. I mean, they talk to each other. Was it the best conversation ever? No. But I think it was a productive one in some ways.
Familjen. Och du gjorde det för att göra Simon svartsjuk. Så förstår du hur själviskt det är?
Felice, det var inte så jag menade. Jag menar bara att jag ville se om du kunde känna så som du gör med Simon.
It was a very, very dickish thing to do. But I don't think it was a dickish thing he did with a whole lot of forethought and planning and making a journal diary plan. It was a spur of the moment. I want to see how this feels. Maybe he invited her over with that in mind. I don't know, but I think he invited her over because he just needed to talk to someone, and then he thought, maybe I can make it feel the same way. It was a shit thing to do given the context of their relationship and their friendship. But she shouldn't have kissed him back, because he's made it very clear he's not into her. Like, neither of them were at their best. I do think he was in the wrong in the kiss, and maybe should apologise a little bit for it, but at the same time, she could have gone, Wilhelm, whoa. But also, he didn't know anyone was going to catch them. Like, they were at as much risk of being caught when they were just talking as they were with that.
Alltså, jag var kär i dig så länge.
You're in love with the idea of him because your parents wanted you to marry royalty, my sweetheart.
Och jävligt kefta med
He's just in a very mixed up place right now.
Tycker så mycket om dig.
I don't know why she kissed him back. I really don't.
Väldigt fin.
Det var ju inte som att jag stoppade dig.
It was a messed up situation.
Det betyder inte att det är helt kört.
You're very young, sweetheart. Both you and Simon. I'm very worried about Wilhelm. Like, what worries me the most with Wilhelm is that he's going through this heartbreak over Simon, on top of grieving his brother, on top of the overwhelming responsibilities that are being the crown prince, on top of having two absent and neglectful and emotionally abusive parents. Like, his dad doesn't seem as bad, but also, like, where the fuck is his dad? So, like, it not being as bad, but not being that, you know, on top of all the pressures that come from being at this ridiculous school. I hope he's seeing that therapist multiple times a week. And to be honest, I hope he's on some kind of antidepressants or something, because I'm very worried about this boy. I'm hoping the show isn't going to go down a super dark route with his mental health, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Like, in a realistic terms. Like, and it's also kind of dangerous for his mental health if he ultimately, like, I have no idea. Like, this season, this is episode 4, we're like at the halfway point of the season with this episode, when there's 2 more after it. We've passed the middle point. Say he ends up with someone by the end of this season. If that is the only good thing in his life, that is such a precarious thing to put all of your mental health into a relationship. It can be a short-term solution. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, and I wouldn't not want them to be together as a result of that. But I would still want him to be seeing the therapist. I would still want him to be pursuing his mental health, because the other aspects of his life will always, I mean, grieving his brother will always be there. The emotional consequences of how he was raised are always going to be there. So I really hope he continues to look after his mental health throughout his life, because he's going to need it. I'm very protective over him.
Okej, eller?
Ja, varför skulle jag inte vara det?
Nej, jag vet inte. Du verkar så spänd bara.
Like, I don't know, it's like this senior, I don't remember his name. I'm hard to remember names. He, like, does seem to vaguely care, and I think from stuff he said, like, he's been in a similar situation, I guess. I don't know him well enough to know whether he's gay, bi, pan, whatever. But I feel like he's kind of a little bit more aware of maybe some of what Wilhelm's going through. With a similar family, though obviously not the royal family. But I just don't trust any of them.
Ja, men jag fattar det. Men du kanske inte ska gå in hit då, liksom.
Well, then where's he supposed to go? That's his house, where he lives.
Säg en vd som är öppet homosexuell. Ingen. Jag tänker fan inte vara den första, liksom.
Someone needs to be the first. That's the awful thing. And it's awful that anyone should have to be the first as well. Like, I know I'm saying that's like a contradictory circle, but like, no one should have to be the first. Because inevitably there will be consequences and shit, people saying shit things. But at the same time, somebody has to be the first. Otherwise, nobody will be the first. It's exactly the same way at, like, when you look at football, soccer, the number of men and women, mainly the men's side, that exist. There are like 2-3 openly gay footballers across the world. That is so not going to be the case in reality, and yet they don't feel safe to come out and be themselves. It's so ridiculous, and no one should have to be the one to take that step when it is still a risk, and it shouldn't have to be a risk. But it's funny, like, no, there are no openly gay CEOs, there are no openly gay princes.
För fråga min världsnyhet. Det är lite stor grej att be om av någon som man liksom dejtat i en
So I think someone needs to talk about Simon to things like this.
Så han ser på saken.
Nice. I hope it's better than the one I got.
Okej.
Oh, she wrote it.
Jag viskar.
This is very dangerous, Sarah. You know exactly the kind of person you're with. Oh, but he's changed, hasn't he?
10 år?
What did you think being Crown Prince meant? That's what they really care about.
Ja.
That's what they really care about here. You're being picked because you're straight. Things get hard, Sarah, and he immediately shuts you out.
Okej, det här stannar mellan dig och mig.
Oh, he's actually gonna let her in.
Är ansvaret som kronprins så tar jag över. Blir Sveriges nästa kung.
I can't remember Simon and Sarah's surname, but like their siblings are getting close to that throne. Sorry, it's not funny.
Då kommer ju alla fatta.
Fattar vadå?
Jag tycker om dig.
I'm with the guy that leaked the sex tape of my brother. Obviously not everyone will know.
Okej.
Okej.
Remember that time he leaked a sex tape of your little brother? Do you remember that? Young love clouds everything, I know, but...
Jag vill gå med dig.
Well, I'm coming with your ex who leaked the sex tape of my brother. Don't have to go to the ball tonight if you don't feel like it, sweetheart. He needs to talk to his therapist more often. I will become his parent. Basically, I'm more like a big sister with the age difference, but I will do it. I'm ready. I wouldn't be at... Don't go to the ball, sweetheart. Why are you at the ball? He's trying so hard to be normal and fit in and...
Med varandra. Okej, alltså du får absolut inte säga till någon. Nej.
I'm great at keeping secrets.
Jag förstår inte. Hemlighet och en av hennes ex som hon hatar.
You're young, my darlings. You've got time to figure it all out. You want to dance because Wilhelm's in there? Or do you want to dance because you want to dance with Marcus? Because I don't approve of this behaviour, young man. Right? Now, I say that in a big sisterly, caring way, not in a terrible person kind of way. This isn't great for Marcus. You're just using him to try and get back at Wilhelm. I don't think Marcus has been great in this relationship either, but this isn't great. Second of all, you know Wilhelm and Felice is a whole messy thing. Why are you trying to get back at him about that? If that line doesn't sum up Wilhelm's entire life, I have to be okay. Are you okay? I have to be okay. His entire life. Oh, there are cameras outside, you have to be okay. Oh, you know, like, make sure you're smart and presentable, you've got to be the crown, well, the spare to the throne. Like, that's his entire life, is, I have to be okay. Boys. Now, Sarah, did she post or call off going with him because of the conversation about being with royalty and boyfriends being drama and the breakup and everything, and now she's rethinking things, or was it just because she genuinely wanted to be with the girls?
Vet du vad han som bestämde att du skulle ta skulden för drogerna?
Vadå, varför skulle han göra det?
Vill väl skydda Simon. Kände att du var ett lätt offer. Jag var den enda som röstade emot.
Yep.
Så du kanske...
See, August is right here immediately going in that I'm going to, instead of being like, okay, well, you know, I've lucked out, I got away with the really shit thing I'd done. If he really was a different person, if he really had grown, he would now be like, okay, I'm not going to antagonize Wilhelm, I'm not going to try and befriend Wilhelm, I'm just going to leave him alone, to be fair. Like, I'm just going to do my own thing, focus on myself, and maybe I'll get everything I've ever wanted. It's fine. If you truly learned from anything. And maybe if you saw the chance, you'd sort of do Wilhelm a good turn here and there. Like, I don't know, if there was some way you could subtly do something that would help him, you would do that, but ultimately you'd stay out of his way. That's what you do if you truly have grown as a person. Instead, as I predicted, he is coming out with the full vindictive, I'm a fuckboy who gets whatever I want. I think he would be acting the exact same even if Wilhelm hadn't targeted him this year, because I think at best Wilhelm would have simply not been his friend this year if he hadn't had his, like, I'm gonna make his life hell in revenge kind of arc. I think he just wouldn't have associated with August, he would have brushed him off, he wouldn't have wanted to spend time with him, because of course not, after what he did. And I think August still would have seen that as terrible and a gross betrayal of everything. You might also want to consider, little rich kid, you're already back at the school that you were expelled from. You have 0 blips in your life because of that incident. Who might have had a big blip in his life because of that incident? Oh. You are vile. You are not vile, sweetheart. You are troubled and sweet and lovely. And I want to protect you from the world, and I can't. I have decided in this episode I'm adopting Wilhelm. No one else is going to raise this kid. I'll do it myself.
Lätt. Sätter också hänga på. Inte min grej.
I can't tell, like, if he's trying or if he's just so desperate to talk to
fan, häng på oss och
Simon?
dansa sen.
Like, is he trying to make peace?
Din kille verkar jättetrevlig.
And really, like, that was very mature and very, very brave. And I wouldn't have blamed him if he was having a bit of a hate with me with your boyfriend, but I'm here, look at me, I'm getting cake and I'm here. But he wasn't. I think he was genuinely just trying to be friendly and just trying to be nice and just not make things awkward and kind of signal that peace, like, it's okay, I'll let you do that. And knowing how much that hurts him inside to do and say, now we as the audience, we know Simon is not over Wilhelm. We know that he is with Marcus as a rebound, 1000%. And I will say I feel a teeny bit bad for Marcus with it, but at the same time, Simon was like, hey, I don't want a serious relationship because I'm not over some stuff. And Marcus went, yeah, fuck that, we're in a serious relationship now. So he kind of, like, it wasn't even a red flag. Or, I mean, not that I think Simon is worthy of a red flag, but, you know, in terms of the relationship, it was more of a, hey, this relationship isn't going anywhere right now, okay? Yeah, fuck that, I'm ignoring that. Like, he outright ignored it. But anyway, we know he is not in love with Wilhelm anymore. But for Wilhelm, that was so mature and so really brave, because he could have kind of just not said anything and just continued going about his way, but really just he went out of his way to try and make sure Simon didn't feel like he was silently judging him or anything like that, and it was just very sweet. And I'm emotional now.
Tack.
And I think you need to break up with Marker. Yes, I'm in love with someone else. But that, I also feel with August, was such a, he's currently feeling a bit shit because she broke up with him, or didn't break up with him, but she uninvited herself to the dance with him, so he lashed out at Wilhelm.
Nej.
Jag trodde att du... Jag vet inte, jag trodde att du gillade mig på riktigt. Liksom.
The awful thing is she does.
Tänker mig inte så.
Jag är inte Wilhelm, okej? Jag är inte det.
Look, maybe take this as another red flag, Sarah. Like, okay, maybe this is more of an amber flag, because I do think August has a bit of a right to be upset that, you know, you're all lying in bed with someone and they say, yeah, let's go to the dance together, and then they turn around and say, actually, I'm going with my friend, see ya. But at the same time, her concerns are valid. A, her best friend is going to hate her. Now, that should have been something that stopped her getting into the relationship in the first place, but we will just, for now, put that to the side. Second of all, the public attention it's going to get between, in the school, for one thing, everyone will be talking about them all of the time. The nerve, though, Sarah has to say, you saw what it was like when you outed Simon and Wilhelm's relationship. Like, he caused that. It didn't have to be like that for them. They could have come out. It's fine. But, like, her concerns are valid. I think part of the issue was in her very Sarah way. Her text was very blunt. We can't go together. I'm going out with my friends. Sorry. Like, it was very kind of matter of fact. There wasn't any explanation in the text. So he has been thinking, oh, she doesn't really want to be with me. She doesn't want to be seen with me. Now, yeah, she doesn't want to be seen with her best friend's ex, who betrayed her brother.
Jag ska bara kolla en grej med kören.
Okej.
Marcus, this boy has all but said to you, I'm still in love with somebody else and I don't want to be with you. Please. Snap out of this. For your own sake. Like, I do feel a little bit bad for him.
Simon!
But at the same time, it's not like Simon has never told him that he had doubts and that he wasn't fully on board in this relationship right now.
Fel mellan oss.
It did.
Jag vet.
Go break up with Marcus, and the two of you need to sit down and have a very, very long conversation, okay? Okay, my loves? This is really lovely, and I'm very worried about you both, about where this is going to go emotionally, but go break up with Marcus, sweetheart, okay? And then you two need to talk to each other. Break up with him after the choir, okay? Okay? Yes, he does still love you, sweetheart. The look of hope in his eyes that we haven't seen all season. And he gets to sing this with Wilhelm listening. He's so in love. I mean, Helska might not endure because its attendance is dwindling, but I think the headmistress liked it. You're dating the boy that ruined his life, that published a sex tape of him, Sarah. Break up with Marcus. Okay, I love this show and I love these kids, and I have officially adopted Wilhelm because no one else is going to raise that kid, so I'll do it myself. August sucks. Like, I knew he sucked, and it didn't, any of him being all sad and sorry for himself at the beginning of the season, I didn't really feel bad for him. I felt bad for him when I pulled myself out of the situation and was like, that's an 18-year-old kid spiraling. That felt bad. It didn't feel fun watching him spiraling. His like seemingly eating disorder and pill dependencies. It's not fun to watch. I hope he gets help. But like, I hope he gets help far, far away from me where I never have to see him again in my entire life. The saddle rich boy thing is very strong in August. Now, obviously, to an extent with all of the rich kids, and I know that that's something that you can be rich and privileged and still have pain and still have problems. I'm not trying to minimize that aspect of things, but like 88,000,000% of August's issues were because his money wasn't quite as high as it used to be, and therefore he maybe wouldn't have the same status he used to have. He could still have a very comfortable, lovely life. It just wouldn't be quite of the same level it had before. And I'm get over yourself. But no, in this episode, him lashing out at Wilhelm again. I've been waiting for him to tell that kid that Wilhelm was the one that was behind the whole frame him for the drugs. But, you know, he's all like, lash out at him, at Wilhelm again, because here you get. And, like, he's still doing it with that smug, snide, I know something you don't know. You know, it's something I said in the previous episode, that this thing of Wilhelm is expressing that he can't cope with the idea of being king. You're our backup. Doesn't that just incentivize August to bully and break Wilhelm until like he cannot mentally be king, until he has a breakdown of some description, and so then they make him king instead? Like, I don't want Wilhelm to have to be the crown prince and to have to be king unless he abolishes the monarchy. But I don't want August to fucking do it either. So I feel like they really just gave him the green light to do whatever the fuck he wanted to mess with Wilhelm. Obviously, he has to do it subtly. If he were to outright do anything again, I think they would put a stop to it. They would definitely disqualify him from the throne or whatever. But subtly get at Wilhelm any way he can. Make sure that kid is not in a good place, and then he'll get everything he wanted. I just do not understand the logic there when you know what he did. And I think we did see that moment when he was on the phone and Jan Olaf was like, yep, so the next 10 years of your life, we've got that planned out for you. I do think he did have a moment of, wait, what? No, I'm picking the uni I want to go to and I'm living my own life. And suddenly realizing that being the crown prince actually means you no longer have a life. You have a strict set of instructions that have been assigned to you. Maybe it's not the golden ticket you thought it was. Yet another reason, as I've said 1,000 times in this show, that a monarchy should be abolished is because of what they do to the people within them. They either turn them into monsters or turn them into deeply unhappy people. But in August, just that vindictive side was back. Now, something that I think is particularly interesting that they are doing this season is he seems to genuinely like Sarah. He wanted to go to the ball with her. Now, obviously Sarah is more of a, she's fitting in with the Hillerska crowd more this season. She's got a group of girls who are her friends, she lives there. But the way those privileged little twit boys are, you know that they still look at her as she's a scholarship student, she's a poor girl, she's different. And on top of that, with her Asperger's, she is different from other people. And you know that they will all look at her differently as a result. And August would probably get some ribbing if he was seen with her. So it's very interesting to me that he was willing to do that. And he even was trying to like romantically set up the champagne flutes and things. Now, I definitely think August has some narcissism in him. I don't think he's necessarily a full-blown narcissist, but there are definitely traits there. What worries me is if he views Sarah as having wronged him, he is going to cut all ties, burn every bridge, and destroy her. And the more vulnerable she is with him, whether that's simply sleeping with him, whether that's telling him private thoughts, sending him sexy pictures, this is all ammunition that if that switch gets flipped in his head, he will use against her. And it worries me. I think this was the episode where we really saw Sarah grappling with, and do they kind of say Sarah? But Sarah's a different, I don't know. Sarah's a different name to Sarah, so I don't know if I'm saying her name wrong, I am sorry. We saw her for the first time realizing she'd always known Felice wasn't going to handle her relationship well, because obviously that's why she was keeping it secret. But I think she kind of felt a little bit safe in the sense that, it's sad to say, she didn't think August would actually ever want to be public with her relationship. So now he wants to make it public, and there is that part of her that is giggling and screaming and wants to say, yes, the boy I like likes me, and he wants to tell people. But then she's realizing, yeah, my best friend, who's been there for me through thick and thin, and with her ex, and someone she outright despises because he's filmed and released a sex tape of my brother and her best friend. Yeah, not great. So I think she suddenly realised there could be consequences to her actions. But there is another part of me that wonders how much of Sarah's reticence came from the sudden realisation that she wasn't just dating a noble idiot who's a cousin of the royal family. She was dating someone who is second in line to the throne, with a very real possibility of becoming first in line. And that changes things. That changes how much attention will be on it all. That changes everything. So I do wonder how much of that was sort of selfish. And even if some of it was, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that's you have a right to look after yourself. I hope her predominant reason for not wanting to go public with the relationship was realizing she was betraying people and not worrying about herself, if that makes sense. Now, I don't know where Sarah's story is going. Since season 1, I have watched her lose herself to this idea of being like these privileged rich kids, knowing she could never actually be like them because she does not come from that kind of financial background that you need to have. But I think she's also romanticized what it's like to be like them. I liked the little interaction she had with the girl who loves her best friend. I don't know any of the other kids' names. I'm really sorry about that. Because she was just really genuinely asking, and I liked the fact that the girl just genuinely responded. Because a part of me was kind of worrying that as much as I like Felice, and so therefore I'd like to think her friends are all decent people, I could still see those rich girls being like, Felice has befriended the commoner, or whatever. But they seem to have actually accepted her, which is really good. So I'm still worried about where Sarah is going. She clearly loves Simon, and I would never try and say she doesn't. But I just think she hasn't occurred to her that what she is doing is a huge betrayal of her brother. And maybe that's partly because her brother doesn't know. If news gets out that she's dating August, Simon's not going to be thrilled because she knows he doesn't like August, but he's not going to know the true scale of things. Now, if he and Wilhelm get back together, that's a whole other story. Now, I was really glad that Felice and Wilhelm had a conversation, that he admitted he was wrong. She admitted, well, yeah, I didn't exactly stop you either, because I do really like their friendship, and I really didn't like the fact that the way the last episode ended. It made me feel very uncomfortable for both of them. I wasn't happy with him for initiating, though I could understand his thought process, but I still feel like it was a pretty shitty thing to do, as he said, given the context. And then her kissing him back, she knows he's not into her. What was that for? So I actually thought they had a very good conversation. I was proud of them both for having it. And I think Felice meant it when she was like, God, being with royalty is an effort. And I like that she finally admitted she was half in love with the prince. Because I think part of why she was in love with him was because her parents had been saying to her, you're good for, like, I think she was childhood friends with him. I could be totally wrong with that. But her parents were saying, you're going to marry the prince and then you can be queen. That's going to be so great for our little girl. Go marry him. You know, I feel like there was a lot of pressure to love Wilhelm and to have him love her back. Okay, so now we get on to Simon and Marcus. And I've talked about that a lot in the actual episode. I don't like that relationship, but I never have done. I think it was quite soon for Simon to jump into a serious relationship. Something that he himself said to Marcus. I'm not ready for this, I don't want this. And Marcus just completely and utterly ignored him. Now, obviously, Simon is sending mixed signals, going from, I don't really want to be in a serious relationship, to constantly wanting to be with him, taken to a party, showing off in front of his ex-boyfriend, you know. He is not exactly doing this well. He's also a teenager. I'm not holding any hatred towards him in any way, shape, or form. I do think he's not doing the best by Marcus, but I also think Marcus is not doing the best by him. Where things stand, Simon has to end things with Marcus, because there are people who go straight from one relationship into another and manage to make a success of that new relationship. I don't think it's the healthiest way to go about things, but people do it. But what happens is when you've been in this new relationship for a while, but your feelings are stronger than ever for the previous person, that tells you something. And that tells you that however much you might be caring and growing to care more and more about the person you're currently with, you're not in love with them and you're not going to be in the way you were before. Therefore, they deserve better and you deserve better, whether you're going to get back with the other person or not. So I really hope in the next episode, Simon is breaking up with Marcus. My fear will be that he's going to be too scared to do so. Out of a I don't want to hurt him kind of thing. I don't think out of a like, I want my cake and eat it too kind of thing. I think he will be worried to upset Marcus. And maybe a little bit of him will be worried, like, well, maybe things aren't going to go anywhere with Wilhelm, and what if I'm getting rid of a really good thing? The right thing to do would be to break up with him tonight. Maybe tomorrow, if you want to, like, not be like, hey, so, you know, this night was really great, now we're breaking up. I think the best thing to do is just rip that band-aid off. Rip the plaster off. I don't call plasters band-aids, but the saying is rip the band-aid off. And then for him and Wilhelm to sit down and talk. Wilhelm needs to finally talk to him about why he made this statement, the kind of pressures he was under, what he was going through mentally. And Simon can say, well, this is how it made me feel. Or like they need to talk to each other. And again, I will keep saying that they are 16 years old. I'm not expecting, maybe they've turned 17 now, I don't know. But they are very young. I'm not expecting them to have extremely mature adult conversations all of the time. But I think when they care about each other as much as they do need to have a conversation. And we saw a little glimpse of it in their locker room conversation. You know, you could have told me about Felice. Well, yeah, but you've got a boyfriend too, and that hurt me. Oh, yeah, I do. Sorry, yeah. You know, you don't know, like, I'm the prince and all that comes with. And yeah, maybe I'm not okay with that. You know, that was kind of the beginnings of, I think, them acknowledging what the fault lines were in their relationship and what the issues were, which is what I would really like for them to have a very long conversation about. Whether that is a conversation we see on screen, whether that is a conversation we see the beginning of, and then they allude to having had, because I feel like that conversation needs to be a couple of hours long. Like, I don't mind, but I think they need to have it before they, I mean, again, if they just want to start dating casually or whatever, they can have the conversation in a little bit, but I think they've reached the point where that conversation just needs to be had if they're going to keep pursuing each other, because otherwise it hurts too much for them both. Now, I have adopted Wilhelm officially, but I'm very worried about him still in general, and I have been since we met him. He was very clearly a kid who was spiraling and acting out because he was drowning, and his family and how he was raised were the reasons behind that. And I feel like if he were in any other family scenario, people would probably be raising red flags, child protective services type situation. And because he's in the royal family, it's, oh, stiff upper lip, get on with it, pip pip. I mean, okay, I know he's not in the British royal family, but you know what I mean. It's concerning. And I just want to say, maybe he had an ulterior motive in, like, if I tell someone that I'm okay with him being with Marcus, he'll come back to me, but I don't think he did. I truly, like, we saw him on his own crying. We know that he is breaking down, he feels lost and alone. And something that really struck me at this ball is he doesn't have any friends other than Felice right now. Because the other lads, they're not really his friends. Even, like, the boy who was like, yeah, I'm his friend. Wait, he turned me in for the drugs, huh? That kid who said they were friends. They're not his friends. He can't really open up to anyone. Now, he does have the beginnings of a friendship with the gay senior. I'm so sorry, I don't know his name. And I want to, so far I do think I trust him. I think he is someone that is trying to look out for Wilhelm, for another young closeted boy that he can kind of see some of himself in. I think, as much as I don't agree with him being like, yeah, we're just going to live in the closet for forever and have our private gay parties, woo! I don't think he's got the best advice, and some of it's quite classist as well. I think it is just how he has had to learn to cope to survive in the world he is in. I do also feel sorry for him. But the fact that Wilhelm made nice with Marcus, he was being, like, polite to him and friendly and kind of just be like, hey, we could just be friends, it's all okay. And then outright said to Simon, like, I'm not going to bother you anymore, I'm not going to keep pushing you, like, you've made your choice, I'm okay, I'm happy for you, kind of. It was really mature, because you know that he wasn't feeling that deep down. He was in emotional turmoil and very upset, but he was able to articulate that to Simon in a way that was so beautiful. And I think in a lot of ways it reminded Simon of who he fell in love with and why he cares about Wilhelm. And then that led to their beautiful kiss, which I'll give them that one. I am not going to be too happy if they're doing a lot of other shenanigans while he's still with Marcus. I'm not going to be like, they're cheaters, ban them level of upset, because there are wider context situations going on. But I just think Simon needs to break up with Marcus and then the boys need to talk. This is a very good episode. Where is it even going to go from here? Thank you so much for sponsoring and thank you for watching.